Good evening, everyone. I mean, what stands out right now is that it's a good thing that Jerry doesn't consider himself a journalist. I know. I'm saying it's a good thing. I mean, and I will get to the whole situation with the Star later. I've been covering City Hall since the early 80s, and have been a columnist since 1998 when we started with amalgamation. And the worst possible position that you could find yourself in as a civic columnist is to be in lockstep with the mayor. The closest I came to that death sentence was with Mel Lastman in his first term. I mean, I knew the man from North York. I spent several years covering him as mayor of North York. He would feed me stories daily. I mean, I really couldn't exist without him. I knew how he thought. We talked to each other just about every day. I understood him inside out. So when he became the mayor of the mega city, I mean, I really understood the guy. We had a great relationship. And then, I had to hold him accountable. So that was very, very difficult. I mean, I did it, but it was a difficult job. And when I did it too well, I would hear about it from him, for sure. Then David Miller became mayor, and my job became easier, but it was still difficult, because I agreed with a lot of his policies. What I disagreed with was the way he did things, and what I considered his arrogance and his lack of respect for the way people think about how the money was spent at City Hall. And I heard from a lot of you, I imagine, who were sitting here, and a lot of residents who thought that I was way too hard on David Miller. I criticized him a lot, despite the fact that I agreed with his policies. So that was a bit difficult, somebody who you agree with, but you would tackle the way they did things. And then we got Rob Ford. And suddenly it was hallelujah. I mean, this is the perfect situation to be in. Rob, as you know, is bombastic. He says what's on his mind. He often doesn't tell the truth. He says things that he can't back up, and that you can clearly show from the numbers and from the facts that it's not possible. He makes promises that is impossible to keep. And so for somebody who is supposed to provide analysis and judgment and perspective at City Hall, it becomes very easy to slam the guy. I laugh when I get letters from people who say the Star has some type of organized, orchestrated campaign against the mayor. I don't think the Star is that organized. They couldn't organize themselves to fight anyone. They've never told me what to write in 14 years as a columnist, and I've had one column spiked, and it had nothing to do with politics. So I pretty much have a clear mandate to write what I think at City Hall. Now, the mayor can talk to me or not. Doesn't really matter for my job. It's a little bit more difficult for somebody like Robin Doolittle, who is a reporter. I'm giving my opinions, I'm giving my perspectives. And I know a lot more people at City Hall than the mayor does. I mean, having covered City Hall since the 80s. The people who are running the city, I knew them when they were nobodies. Budget analysts who are now CFOs. So we have relationships that go way back, and they'll talk to me and tell me things even though they're working directly with the mayor. So his not talking to me really doesn't affect my job. Same thing with councilors. I have said strong things about city councilors over the years. I called Michael Thompson, the only black councilor on city council, I called him an Uncle Tom once, and he still talks to me. I called Giorgio Mammalidi. I said, I describe him as a man who has mastered the art of political harlotry. He still talks to me. James Pasternak, I described as James Pastor Snack, after he wanted to have more snacks at City Hall. And I mean, those people still talk to me. And if they don't talk to you, that's fine. There are 45 counselors. You know, if 41 of them don't talk to you, you still have a lot more sources than a lot of other reporters in other papers. That's not the issue. The issue is that the mayor of a metropolitan city must talk to all the press. You don't have to give them interviews, but if you are sending out news releases, if you're sending official communique, if you're sending official notices, if you're giving official briefings about the city, then you give that to all reporters, to all media outlets. You don't pick and choose who you want to talk to. Because if you decide you don't want to talk to the Star today, then tomorrow it could be the Globe, and the next day the Sun, and then pretty soon you can decide who you want to talk to, who you want to deliver information to. That's ridiculous. I mean, any journalist would be able to see that's certainly something that cannot be tolerated. As far as the Star is concerned, and the reason why the mayor stopped talking to us, recently, I mean, I read the story again that supposedly cost the mayor to stop talking to us. And the story is bulletproof, despite what Jerry just said. Bulletproof. Every reporter in this room would write that story, and every publication would publish it. Because it's bulletproof. And you guys can ask me details about it, and I can read you the first 6 paragraphs. The mayor has his say. It says very clearly, the mayor says he did not do this categorically. The story clearly says that there is a dispute as to whether or not he roughed up the player. Some people said he did, and some people said he didn't. And it's all there in the first 6, 7 paragraphs of the story. So, you know, if the position then is, as reporter, if you have sources that say a person or a mayor has done, or a mayoral candidate has done ABC, and the candidate says, I did not do ABC, is the position then of journalists to say, okay, fine, sorry, I guess you didn't do it? If that was the case, when we wrote the story about him at the ACC, when he was drunk, right, and was berating all those patrons, when I first interviewed him, he said, no, you know, they're slandering my name, and this is ridiculous. You know, nobody knows, how could they do this to me? That's what he said the day before. Once the story got in, we had his business card from the person who he berated at the ACC. Then the next day he came clean and said, well, I was embarrassed, you know, I shouldn't have done that, I'm sorry. The same thing happened with the story in Miami. So because the mayor says, I didn't do this, it doesn't mean, that doesn't mean that the story is over. You quote the sources that says he did it, you quote the sources that say he did it, you quote the sources that say he didn't. And that's your job. Your job is to throw the information out there for public consumption and then see what happens. And the story is bulletproof. If it wasn't bulletproof, believe me, his lawyers would have sued the Toronto Star. They threatened to, they had every opportunity to, and they didn't. And as I'm open to questions on that and any other issue at City Hall.
Thanks so much, Royson. And I think this